And we're back with more holiday tactics and tips from Old School Gun School. So last time we were together, we talked about preparing at the house, being safe inside the house, certainly. And if we were going to venture outside of the house, we talked about tips for getting away from the house. How to lock it up when you leave, set an alarm if there is one. Then with the house secure, to the vehicle. With the vehicle secure, out of the garage if you're using one, or out of your parking place, and off to your destination. So more details from that one. We're going to pick up where we left off with that. And so we'll talk about the vehicle. So now you're on the road. And so consider that during holiday season, you spend some effort keeping that fuel tank topped up to the point that at least half a tank. And so if it gets down to less than half a tank, it's time to top that video off. It would never hurt to have a little more uninterrupted drive time available for you in the holiday season. And so keep it topped up, that's for sure. And a large margin of fuel in that tank. I've got my notes. I hope you have yours. We talked about that last time. We got a lot of good information out of these, and hopefully we'd like to see you make some notes so you can recall what we talked about. And so
when I'm fueling up, I like to get my keys and my credit cards. I get out of the car and I lock the door. So nobody's going to do a snatch and grab of my purse. And normally I've got Bullet in the car with me. So if they even tried, they'd get a rude awakening. Our friend Mary talked about being in Auburn and going to get gas. And there was a guy that tried kind of blocking her off. And she just decided that wasn't a good place to be and found an exit and decided to either get gas another time or to come back later.
By all means, don't snatch and grab from Glenda. You might get hurt. And so, yes. And so no snatch and grabs, plenty of fuel. If you're going to stop at the gas station, find one that's well lit. Find one that you recognize. Find one, hopefully, where there's other people. Not that there's safety in numbers. In other words, if you think that everybody else at the gas station is going to drop what they're doing and run over and volunteer to be in your gunfight, probably not. But it's the bad guy, all right? And so it's a predator that he just doesn't want an audience to do what he does. And so he wants to do what he does in the dark, in the shadows. And so if you stay in nice, well-lit places with other people, it's another margin of safety. Nothing's a guarantee, but it's a good idea. And now back on the road again, drive politely. What do you think? And so, are you ever on the road when there might be an impolite driver? Yes. There's more than one or two of those. In fact, there's more than that probably, but they move around a lot, and so we keep seeing them. And so, be polite. Even be polite to impolite and rude drivers, because it does not pay to push that rude driver. Now, it used to be, we were a little better off. We could lean out the window and shake our fists and make rude signs and holler obscenities, and they would holler back, and we got everything done. Now we're in this world of road rage, and so nothing is worth it. And so if you lose your temper or exercise your temper, any chance that could flare up, any chance that could be dangerous for you, we say yes.
Yeah, they're saying that road rage is definitely up, especially here in Western Washington. There's been many cases this last year. The most recent one that involved a firearm was just in October, and it was at 6:46 in the evening. So it wasn't even like being out in the middle of the night and doing something stupid, but in the city of SeaTac. And it started out as a road rage dispute between a couple of guys. And then one of those guys drew a gun and opened fire and shot the other guy, who they took to the emergency room and did not have life-threatening injuries. But that's just something we don't want. It's just, let it blow off. Somebody I was talking to, when somebody does that kind of thing, just kind of, instead of getting, oh my gosh, why did he do that booger? And say, no, it's like, wow, I guess they're in a hurry and they need to get someplace, and just let it go. Just let it go.
None of those confrontations would be worth forfeiting your life. Then you got to ask yourself, if you got involved in an altercation for a road rage, could you get hurt? Could it be really bad? It could be. And so avoid it at all costs. So back on the road again, be polite, leave generous spaces between you and the others. And I know not everybody does that. It's those impolite drivers again, right? And they close those distances and tailgate a lot. That makes me mad. But you know what? I can't control that part. And so just leave plenty of distance between you and the others, especially when coming up to a stop. A stop just in the traffic. It could be a stop at a stoplight, a stop at cross streets, any kind of a stop. And the cars pile up, and don't be part of that sandwich. Don't be stuck between other cars, front, back, right, left. If something bad happens, you're stuck. And so leave yourself an exit. As you come up that off-ramp, as you come to that intersection, hang back just a little bit. If something out of the ordinary happened or something dangerous, could you drive away? You could if you leave enough room between you and the other guy ahead of you. What if there's vehicles on the side? And I would try to enter that stop or that intersection and have emptiness on one side or the other, either to my left or to my right. If a war starts, lots of shooting, would I want to get out of that line? Oh, yes. Would I be willing to be a lawbreaker and pull into a lane that was not designated for my direction of travel and drive away? I would. I would drive away and get to someplace else where I could make another illegal turn and get away. Or maybe if I was closer to the curb, would I jump onto the curb? I would. And so up on the curb I would go. Is that breaking a law? Probably so, but I'm not going to stick around for the gunfight. And so have a method of escape. Have a method of escape. Plan that as you go up. You'd be surprised how much more relaxed you'll be if you know you can predict your future. It's okay. I can predict my future. Look at this. If something happens, I'm going to do this. And that means you have a plan.
Yeah, there was a few years ago when we were living in Tenino at exit 88 on I-5. And we happened to be over in Boise teaching at the time. But there was a case where law enforcement was after a guy from Portland. And so he was headed north on I-5. And Lewis County Sheriff saw him, so they pursued. They managed to put down some strips, spike strips, which they hit and got flat tires, but then exited exit 88.
They drove for some time on flat tires. They don't care. They're felons.
There, and then he got out and decided to try and carjack this woman's car, and whatever reason that didn't work out, and he shot her. And the guy in front of her in a pickup truck could see what was going on behind him. Had he left enough space between him and the car in front of him, he could have gotten away, but he didn't have that space. But at least he had the warning of what was going on behind him, that he left the keys in the truck and he hopped out. So bad guy gets in the pickup and heads towards Tenino up Old 99. A few miles down the way, off the road, and the cops and them get into a shooting match, ended up shooting and killing the bad guy. So it does happen, and this is like in our backyard. So leave yourself some space and pay attention to what's going on around you.
And the others there were innocent. They weren't part of this. They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Think of that poor lady in her nice car. So there she was. She was the first that they tried to carjack. She wouldn't cooperate. I understand that part. You wouldn't want to give up your car to somebody else, depending what's in the car. Maybe your purse is left in the car, with your ID left in the car, all that stuff. However, I don't think the car or anything in it is worth forfeiting your life.
Yeah.
So when the carjacker guy comes along and says, I want your car, I said, man, you got it. Here's the keys. Have a nice day. And so, wow, none of that is worth forfeiting your life. You ask yourself, in that situation, could I be hurt? Yes. So if you could be hurt, make different choices. And so be polite. Road rage is never easy on yourself or others. And when arriving at your destination, I'd like you to pick the very best place to park. Not down in the lower 40 where it's all shadowy and the street lights don't go. No, as close as you can to the doors of the mall or the shopping space or wherever you're going. But yes, certainly do that and keep a good eye on where to park.
Yeah, you don't want to be parking next to an old rusty van or a big
a high-lift pickup truck
where you can't see. They may be there may be somebody hiding there. Even if they're not, you lose your visual of what's around you. So you need to be careful of where you're at and look before you get out and make sure there isn't any cause for alarm with what's going on between you and where you want to go.
And that attention would take place on the way trip back to the car. So you left the car and there was no rusty vans on it. Everything looked fine in a good parking place. Everything's cool. And you go into your shopping, come back out. Oh, whilst you were gone, parking changed a little bit. And now the rusty van is next to where you are, on the driver's side possibly, or the high lift pick 'em up truck that could be there. So now as you approach, if you don't feel good about this, I would go back to where I came from. I would go back to the mall and find others to go with, find the mall security guy, see if he would walk out there with you. If you're forced to be on your own, have a good look at it. When I walked up, boy, I'd take a look under that, so get the right angle so you can see is there anything under that high lift truck, anything under that big old van. Because a predator would sneak under the van with the door next to the driver's door. As you're fiddling for keys and trying to get into your vehicle, he's hidden out under the car next, or the van next. And he reaches out, grabs hold of your ankles, drags you to the ground, and now he's yours. And it won't turn out happy. So by all means, keep an eye open for what's parked next to you, what's adjacent to you, what's in the area. People, cars you don't like, whatever. It's not worth it. Go back to where you came from, find somebody to help you out, and walk out in a group. Remember, safety in numbers. They may not help you in the gunfight, but they may make you a harder, more complicated target, and that would be a good thing. Next, to consider parking etiquette. How would I park? It's easiest when you come to a parking spot, especially at the mall with a lot of public parking, just to turn in the spot and pull into it. And that makes the trunk a little more easy to operate because you walk out, the trunk is sitting on the back, of course, and you can get into there and put the shopping away and do all those things. However, if you needed to get out of there in a hurry, then you have to back out. Backing out can be more complicated. There could be people, especially if there's trouble. There could be people running around like crazy behind you. There could be other vehicles there, and there you are trying to get out. I would make it a habit to back into the parking place if at all possible. That way, if I'm in a hurry to go, I get into my vehicle, start the engine, and away I go. And I don't have to do any backing up. I don't have to do any fancy turns. I just drive straight out of there. And so there's a thought to consider for that.
Before you get out of the car and go in to do your shopping, make sure everything is secured and out of view. These are opportunity predators, and if there's something there, it might not seem like it's that big a item to you, but you don't know what they're looking for. We were at a hotel once. They broke into a truck. You could obviously see there wasn't much in there. There was money in the console. They didn't touch that. All they did was they took a couple bottles of water. So you don't know what they're looking at.
And these guys have smashed and grabbed into cars before. You're not the first one. And so they've been trained. If you think you had, well, I put my jacket over my camera and therefore they didn't know it was there. You know what? They know if the camera, something's covered by a jacket or a newspaper or something else. There's treasure hidden underneath. And so you can't fool them. They've known this. And so don't be a target. I have nothing in my vehicle that's worth taking. Neither did the water guy. But they still broke into his vehicle, broke into a nice new pickup truck, smashed the windows to do what? Steal 2 bottles of water out of a flat of water from the store. To 6. What else could be left on there? Not even your sunglasses. Well, no, the sunglasses aren't very expensive. Nonetheless, they will steal your sunglasses. They will steal anything that's left laying on the dashboard or left laying around. So by all means, I wouldn't do it. I'd keep it locked up. If it had to go, maybe the trunk is a good place, or take it with you, or have a trunk. So there's an idea.
Now you're ready to get out and go do some shopping. You don't want to be distracted when you get out. So you don't want to be on your phone. You don't want to be texting, any of that stuff. So get as ready as you can. And when you get out, if you have to use the key fob to lock your car, then lock it. But then don't be fumbling to put your keys away. Just stick them in a pocket, leave them in your hand, and get into where you're going. You just don't want to look like a victim, because if you are your attention is somewhere else, you've got victim across your forehead. So be aware of what's going on around you.
And be armed if possible, and be practiced. The gun is not a lucky rabbit's foot. It's not a good luck charm. Having the gun is not going to help you unless you know how and when to use it. And so that's what the school's all about. But by all means, getting a good gun, a gun that's meant to do what you'd like it to do, and be educated by somebody you like and trust, and practice. You can't practice something you don't know how to do. So first get the learning part done, and then do some drills. Next time we get together, we'll talk more about being safe during the holidays and tips to keep you safe and your family safe. We'll talk again soon.